The slideshow I will be referencing for this video is also available in the description. Feel free to use the timestamp there to skip to whatever sections you need. I also have a Google Sheets in the description with all the successful team clears I have seen so far, with video links where available. While I try to leave helpful tips in my endgame clears here and there, this is my first dedicated video series of this kind, so let me know if you have any feedback or would like to see something similar for future endgame content. With that out of the way, let's begin. Finally, onto the ideal supports. Keep in mind that especially for supports, the best support heavily depends on your team comp. While Jiaoqiu and Fugue are a tier lower here for instance, they are far and away the best in slot supports for Acheron and Break teams respectively. You might be surprised to see Remembrance MC sitting with the big three harmonies, but there is no disputing just how strong they are against Scarabaz and just in general. Going into the Scarabaz matchup, RMC, unlike the big three harmonies, can spam basic after one skill usage, and the basic spam along with Mem's AoE hits and AoE ult contributes to toughness damage while spawning lots of stings. RMC also helps team survivability while still being a support. Mem can act as a damage and CC sponge to help with team survivability, and 50% guaranteed action delay on their technique is also great for giving teams time to set up. The AS buff refunding the entire team's ults also works great for RMC, who can gain 30 to 50% charge from the energy refresh alone, and another 40% from using their ult. This often means an immediate advance forward plus true damage buff refresh for anyone of their choosing, which is just amazing. And finally, true damage itself being a straight up final damage multiplier means that it can't be diluted by any other buff sources, letting it pair extremely well with support heavy teams. Top tiers like Acheron and the Herda with strong self buffs, plus counter characters like Yunli and Clara who don't take many turns. As long as they aren't break DPS, RMC does a great job amplifying their damage. Not only that, but RMC's ability to apply Mem support on turn 1, paired with a 30% action advance trace, means that they can advance any character of their choice almost instantly. Unlike Sunday, who cannot advance his fellow harmonies, RMC can advance Robin. Not just that, but Robin can retain RMC's 46% true damage buff for the whole fight, which when paired with RMC's frequent attacks, helps Robin energy generation and personal damage too. Being both a complement and a side grade to top tier supports as a free unit, along with their specific mechanics being a perfect matchup against Scarabaz, all on top of being a free unit with an easy to get and immediately available E6 and MOC shop Lycone. It's just crazy to believe. The only real downside to running Remembrance MC is that you can't use Harmony MC, and unless you're running Super Break, that's an easy trade-off to make. Despite RMC being able to function as a Sunday side grade though, there's no denying that Sunday also matches incredibly well into Scarabaz. His 18% effect res and traces makes him easier to stack effect res on if that's what you need. Being able to immediately advance and cleanse completely nullifies the downsides of being entangled or outraged, and his SP efficiency and energy giving ultimate allows you to be even more liberal with your SP and ultimates, especially when the AS buff just gives both of those things right back. Robin also does incredibly well here. As mentioned before, her synergy with RMC propels her to new heights, as if she wasn't already the best crit support, and her CC immunity during ult is great for soaking up attacks. Not only that, but getting a free ult on break lets her advance forward with the team, while also solving any problems she might have with ult uptime. And thanks to the vuln that stings apply on death, her ult damage procs end up hitting decently hard too. The only downside of using her versus other supports is that you have to wait quite a while to use her second ult, and of course if you can't keep her ult uptime, her performance falls off. Additionally, both top tiers in the Herda and Acheron function as hyper carries, making Sunday a viable and easier to manage substitute for them. And finally in the top tier, Ruan Mei's usability in both break and crit, plus that still elusive 50% weakness break efficiency, continues to make her a top tier support. Specific to this boss fight, she lets characters more easily access the Hunter's Stride buff action advance. The halt delay helps keep teams safe from sting onslaughts, and thanks to Slow Mei plus Von Whack, Ruan Mei doesn't mind getting hit and entangled. Not only does it extend her ult uptime even more, but she can also tank the hit better thanks to being able to forego speed boots for HP or defense ones. Jiaoqiu all works great for Acheron of course, especially between the stings taking their first turn fast, on top of Jiaoqiu applying Ashen Roast each time a new sting spawns. Thanks to being an Annihility, his ability to attack while debuffing also helps spawn more stings faster. While his Vuln debuff is slightly diluted due to Scarabaz receiving up to 100% of it from Sting Explosions, the fact that it is permanent means that his debuffs don't have to worry about keeping up with Sting spawns. Besides Acheron, Jiaoqiu can also work as a good amper for Argenti and Yun Li. As a side note, if you do have enough damage to one-shot Stings, Solitary Healing can also be a niche choice for him due to his insane energy regen, but this is only realistically possible with sustainless Acheron comps. While Fugue is hardlocked to break comps, she takes him to the next level, quite literally doubling the action advance characters can receive from the Hunter Stride buff. Double breaks are also good for front-loading damage, and she can even help breakers a bit with her Universal Toughness ult. Her meme synergy with Acheron doesn't work here unfortunately, as Acheron wants raw damage to nuke the Stings as fast as possible, and Fugue's damage amp is on the same level as S5 Pearls. Not worth it. Harmony MC, despite facing strong competition from their Remembrance counterpart, is still strong in their own right. Their imaginary toughness contribution, while subject to bounce RNG, still helps a fair bit, and the stray hits can hit Scarabaz to make it spawn more Stings. Additionally, the ability to convert breaks into action value through DDD spam will always be strong in multi-enemy content. This only gets stronger when paired with Fugue, who provides twice the breaks, and when stacked with the Hunter Stride additional advance forwards from breaks for even more turns. Now that we have a strong ice DPS once more, Pela's ice res pen on her E4 makes her a strong debuffer for the Herda. She also complements the Herda quite well with her attack frequency, further boosted by Pela's energy trace plus her E1 that refunds 5 energy per defeated enemy. Frequent attacks and AoE debuff application also make her a strong candidate with Acheron, and the energy regen is a nice bonus to RMC as well. While Sparkle is still great for Dill and counter units like Yun Li and Clara, she is definitely a notable downgrade from the top tier generalists. Entanglement's 50% action delay completely nullifies her 50% advance forward, and her lack of cleanse on skill compared to Sunday and Bronya also makes her helpless versus Outrage. A small point to make is that refunding both SP and ult on weakness break actually isn't too bad for her, since her advance forward isn't wasted. And although she'll likely be wasting SP or energy depending on when she uses her ult, her raising the SP cap to 7 means that you have 2 extra SP to burn anyways. If you plan on bringing Sparkle to this fight, just make sure you have countermeasures to prepare for getting CC'd. It's funny how Tingyun has managed to remain relevant purely because of DDD. Sure, her amp numbers are low by today's standards, but Robin, the Herda, Argenti, Yun Li, and RMC all enjoy having an extra battery on the team, and DDD's action advance on ult helps when the team no longer gets it from breaking Scarabaz's weakness. While it is hard to fit her on a sustained team due to competition, in sustainless comps, she can even fit on Acheron teams due to her giving extra ults to both Jiaoqiu and herself. Similar to Tingyun, Bronya's extra speed boost at E2 and ability to advance harmonies, unlike Sunday, only matters in sustainless comps. Otherwise, she can be difficult to use with a top DPS right now, since Boothill is SP hungry, Rappa doesn't need the extra turn she offers, and everyone else doesn't appreciate her skill buff only lasting 1 turn. The SP refund on break makes her much easier to use in the short term, and of course, the immediate turn plus cleanse on skill is still very useful for combating Scarabaz's CCs. Curiously, Yukong actually has all the right conditions to do well versus Scarabaz. She gains CC immunity once every 2 turns, she has good imaginary toughness damage for chipping Scarabaz, and regaining SP and ult on boss break helps her playstyle, which is heavily reliant on both. Of course, her buffs only lasting 2 to 3 turns is a huge detriment, having negative synergy with the Herda, but it could potentially work for Acheron, Yun Li, and Clara. Wonder if anyone will test it out. And of course, Asta just doesn't do much with her speed and attack buffs, though she can hit her 77% attack buff cap pretty consistently with a constant 5 enemies, it just pales in comparison to everyone else. Her fire toughness is much better spent versus Fantilia on the other side if you really want to bring her. At the bottom we have our single target debuffers. Silverwolf might seem like a good nihility for Acheron, especially since she implants lightning weakness and does decent toughness damage, but without an AoE amper, Acheron struggles to kill the Stings, which is too much of a downside considering that it's literally the main mechanic of this run. Hanya also does a bit of everything: single target damage debuff, single target speed boost, SP refund, attack boost on ult, but against AoE content her buffs are lacking. Topaz also doesn't work well here due to 40% fire res, and a lack of follow-up teammates to capitalize on her single target foam. Now before I close out, here's some general gameplay advice. In general, when Scarabaz is not broken, all DPS should be targeting Stings over Scarabaz. Lesser Stings apply more vuln and refund SP on kill, and tend to be more immediately threatening, so they should usually be focused over Nah Stings. This might seem like weird advice considering the best DPS for this mode are AoE, but either they or their teammates tend to have some form of single target or blast in their attacks, so targeting is still important. Similarly, you should focus weaker stings to cause a chain reaction on their death, as well as stings close to the 3-stack limit to prevent a chain reaction leading to your death. On a related note, make sure the stings keep spawning so that you keep having fodder to kill to reduce the Scarabaz's toughness with. While you should still focus down weaker stings, sometimes it might be better to temporarily focus Scarabaz to spawn more stings first so that way more enemies receive the Vuln debuff on death. On the other hand, when Scarabaz is broken, focus on killing Scarabaz at all costs. Gnaw stings do about twice as much death damage as lesser stings, so they take second priority, but realistically, your attack should be dealing way more than 4% max HP versus a vulnerable Scarabaz. Make sure to time your SP and ults so that you can use as many as you can before breaking the boss, refunds all back, even if you have to stall for a bit. And finally, good luck. Scarabaz is ultimately a huge AoE DPS and CC check, so don't feel too bad if your team isn't up to stuff to clear. Hopefully my guide helps you to better understand just exactly what Scarabaz is asking of you so you can better clear, or otherwise you just found this informative. Before I go, I'd like to thank Narwhalsy, No Commentary Hoyoverse Gaming, and Zeto Genshin for uploading their Apocalyptic Shadow clears that inform my presentation. All the visuals in the presentation were sourced from their videos or from Honkai Star Rail Wiki's official character media, as well as my running observation on how the boss mechanics work. Once again, this presentation can be found in the description of this video, along with a spreadsheet of all the teams that have cleared so far. Thanks for watching!